Hello, a very warm welcome to you, Neto. Thank you so much for being here today. Thanks to everyone watching us. Welcome to each and everyone. We are here today to explore a slightly different approach together. This is actually the very first time that Katam is hosting a webinar like this one. And as a technology company, we truly saw this important need to bring forward new dialogues about technology and innovation to the absolute forefront of our professional discussions here today, since we see many solutions appearing and also see the impact that technology, not just ours, but many others, is bringing positively to companies. So we wanted to bring an example of a company that is already using technology to talk a little bit about change management, how that works in practice, what the main challenges are, and its real-world application within this modern and evolving agricultural industry. The various opportunities, and thus help these new companies, or also the curious ones, to learn a little bit more from the collective experiences of both Mavalle and from Neto. I will just call you Neto. Is that all right with you, Jose?
That's fine.
Let us begin then. If you could please introduce yourself and talk a little bit about Mavalle so that everyone here gets the chance to truly know you better today.
Well, a very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Jose Francisco de Asunção Neto, though many know me simply as Neto. I am an agronomist by training. I am currently here in Colombia, working as the agricultural manager for a large-scale rubber tree plantation in the region, located in the department of Meta, basically in Puerto Lopez and also Puerto Gaitán, in the vast Colombian Altilanura region. I have been working here for 4 full years right now. We are a company that plants, cultivates, processes, and also exports high quality, technically specified natural rubber products all over the world, which here we refer to as TSR. And today I have come here so we can talk a bit about our technology optimized agricultural processes, which in this specific case are the field inventories that we are required to perform on an annual basis so that we know exactly which trees are ready for tapping or are still in active development.
Great. For those who do not know me yet, my name is Luisa Federici, and I am the manager responsible for the LATAM region here in Brazil and across the entirety of Latin America. But our work, as you just saw, is deeply linked to other countries like Colombia, where we already have this strong relationship and a very close operational proximity today, and also other neighboring countries such as Chile and Uruguay, with several projects currently happening. And now let us start with the first set of questions for our main discussion here today. Neto, what specifically made you realize that the inventory process really needed to change significantly? So, bringing this overview of recent innovations and considering just how difficult it actually is to introduce a completely new process into an established company like yours, what was it that gave you that specific trigger that a change was absolutely necessary?
Well, Luisa, the main factor was definitely the need for timely, reliable, and well-structured information to guide our daily operations efficiently, to make informed decisions in a context where we manage a very high volume of hectares on a daily basis. As I didn't mention, we have 10,240 hectares across the 2 municipalities, Porto Lopez and Porto Gaetano. And manual inventory, while it often works on a small scale for rubber trees, slowly began to cause delays and significant amounts of rework and difficulty consolidating information at the farm level, as we have several farms, and then contextualizing it as a company, which limited technical analysis and operational planning in a large production system. Basically, that was the primary reason.
I see, I understand. And what exactly was that transition process like, going from a purely manual inventory to a modern digital inventory system? How did the company react? How was that internally?
Well, just like other processes, since I started here, as we already talked a bit before, it was progressive and well received. We have a young audience here of many people from generations like Gen Z or Gen Y, and these individuals contribute a lot in terms of implementing and using new technologies in the field every day. So it started as a pilot on a plantation that had crops both in development and production, located specifically in the municipality of Porto Gaetano, where we were able to test the software's capabilities in a real-world agricultural environment, and then it allowed us to validate the methodology in real field conditions, adjust the workflow and train staff in this new way of surveying. As time reduction, improved traceability, and ease in consolidating information became evident, the process was adopted naturally until it became a standardization, a formal operational standard. So today it is already considered mainly for the area of agricultural technical departments that we have. It is a daily reality to use the tool for census.
Great. Many companies often say they are innovative and they have dedicated innovation departments. But then when it finally reaches the operational or technical departments, we see several limitations. And many companies tend to wait until they find a perfect solution before acting. An off-the-shelf solution, one that's 100% ready and meets every need. And we see that in practice, it ends up being a process of building. So even with our ongoing partnership, we see that little by little, we are building it together, constantly improving the algorithm day after day for better results. And tell me something more. How did the teams react, not just those working in the field, but how was the general internal reception of this new technology throughout every department of the entire company?
Very interesting, because I would say not just the field teams, as we are also a conglomerate of different companies under a holding company that manages many different agricultural aspects at the same time. So basically, we are dealing with financial aspects as well. And it was a context where we really had to bring to light the absolute importance of technological advancement for the entire business, the matter of opportunity with these technologies. So the reaction was positive right from the start. There was no resistance to change, as we selected for the field professionals with a high willingness to adapt to these tools. This is very important because they truly have to believe it will work out. So it is very important to select these specific people. And methodology, explaining the methodology systematically. And that's where we had great support from CATAM's field team to relay all the information precisely. This made it easier to adopt the process and allowed for a fast learning curve, let's say fast, and built strong confidence in the use of technology and provided real support for all our fieldwork.
This is very important, this high level of methodological rigor too. When we are talking about a full implementation like this one, you do not have that same level of control, validation, and that sort of thing. There is no way for you to even compare results accurately, right, Neto? So that is a very cool point that you brought up. I also have a question regarding the specific results achieved. It was really cool that I was with you during the recent event where we discussed these topics in much more detail together. Rubber Congress in Bogota, you presented some results publicly to everyone of the impact that Kata had on your operations. From what I'm seeing here, it was a 33% reduction in labor costs that also reduced by 33%, and a reduction in sampling error of 50%. What exactly was the impact of that internally for you and your team to receive those positive results, but also to see the new opportunities that were being generated by this tool?
Well, the biggest savings came from the reduction of the personnel component. Yes. Even when looking specifically at the numbers, we had a rate of basically 5 trees measured per minute, right? If I recall the data correctly. With technology, we now do 7 with greater efficiency. So right there, you gain in productivity, both in data collection and validation, as well as in the total time needed to complete the entire inventory process. The digitization part also made it possible to shorten the collection cycles. Important because our farms are at considerable distances. The 10 to 40 hectares aren't continuous. There are several farms. It is not just one large continuous forest block. And that allowed for the validation and consolidation of information, reducing operational costs without affecting data quality, which is where we had the chance to explore a bit more, especially with detailed population analysis, and allowing us to understand a bit more deeply how the field dynamics of the growth of these plants in the various different areas that I just mentioned are currently playing out today. That I just mentioned, the error reduction occurred mainly in specific aspects of precise sample location and the manual data entry process we used before, which allowed for more consistent and reliable information. This also strengthened agricultural planning. We already had planning before, but this tool more so brought us much closer to total accuracy in our forecasts and field estimations as well, especially in the years of opening new areas. So this supports us a lot in the decision of how to define the lots and how to define the specific areas for each rubber tapper according to their individual productive potential, ensuring that we maximize the output from every single tree in the plantation area we manage, and also reduce the uncertainty in interpreting the results. Often we interpret rubber trees in kilos per hectare. In fact, we have to translate this a bit into kilos per tree, but then you really have to know the forest population you have and then it improved the ability to predict interventions and make operational decisions. Basically, that was the set of factors that led us to this significant reduction in our operational costs today, not only in labor, but also efficiency in data and the flow of information to any area.
Sure, and I imagine that for you to have received, especially the error issue, this 50% is a high value, right? So you were probably already noticing something was wrong, and now having this certainty that no, we managed to reduce it significantly, the mistake for you must have been a major discovery.
Yes, yes. In fact, with the available data, we started selecting areas better by density and growth. We even created a classification for unsatisfactory areas. Unsatisfactory areas, which are areas where there could be a significant agronomic adjustment, areas characterized by good development, and areas of truly excellent and high development. So for these inadequate or unacceptable areas, today we no longer choose to work them. Planted in the past, these areas no longer show the expected growth or health required for sustainable production, good growth and also good yield. We don't work those areas, so we focus specifically on areas suitable for significant agronomic adjustment to improve their future overall performance and strengthening them in a way so that they move into the good to excellent category in the near future.
I thought that specific table you made was really cool because when we look at it and analyze those data points, the value becomes incredibly clear to us. Your decision-making power really increases as you can see exactly what those density data represent and make a firm decision based on that table you prepared for us. I found it super interesting, and of course I recognize that this is very segmented for the specific rubber tree context that we are discussing today, that other crops will have other conclusions and other analyses to be made. But I definitely found this tool very interesting and useful as a support system for the broader challenges we face in modern forest management today. Do you have a future vision for Mavalle regarding the integration of more digital solutions into daily operations? What exactly you see for the coming years and how you view the industry evolving as well? Perhaps the rubber tree sector today is still quite conservative, isn't it? What do you think are the next steps this entire sector will have to take very soon?
I think not only the forestry sector, but other sectors as well, speaking as an agronomist and agricultural engineer, and especially for all those agricultural activities that depend heavily on manual labor and human workers out in the field. 60, 70%, or even more of the total costs, depending on the specific rubber tree area, is directly linked to labor costs. So the advice or the reasoning we use here is that there's an understanding that digitalization is an opportunity for evolution and not as a potential threat or just another unnecessary business expense for us. Start with simple, well-defined processes, right? Adapted to the operational reality, which allow technology to become an ally to the human team. That is, improving this understanding of the real capacity of your field team, in Cristofano's case. So when this digitalization or this new technology truly facilitates the daily field work, it will show concrete results and the change stops being an obligation and becomes a conviction within the team. And from there, the processes start to flow naturally, even suggesting more and more improvements across many other operational processes within the company. So it is kind of a contagious process of improvement. It starts spreading to other areas that weren't seeing opportunities with technologies. So I see it's a bit of an inevitable path, but it is definitely complementary. So it is not mutually exclusive in any way. And it is not that we were doing so poorly in the past, but perhaps for this new global context we face, this new global context we have to adapt. And technology has arrived. And in this case, we're talking about Katan technology. It's a technology that came to support rubber tree forest inventories. And I believe there are also, if I'm not mistaken, many other possibilities for application across the entire forestry sector.
Definitely. And what I also find really cool about it is that our initial project was neither so small that it was irrelevant, nor was it overly large, nor was it so big, but we had a fixed number of trees, and the project gradually grew within the company as we saw the results emerge, with very diluted risk, because as we moved forward, we grew by collecting more areas, while the internal validations were simultaneously taking place in the field. So I think based specifically on what you just said, that when you have a major transition or a significant change within the company structure, The approach you took matters. A change within the company, the way Mavalle did it was very good in that sense, because now the positive results we are reaping today come from a very solid foundation indeed, are really from a well-developed and well-defined process with specific goals and a very clear methodology for everyone involved. That is very cool indeed. I actually have just one last question for you, Neto, before we officially wrap things up here and end our session for now. I would really like you to tell us what the next steps are that you imagine for the company in this growing digitalization scenario as we look toward the future of agriculture. What exactly do you see for the future? I know you mentioned the electric knife before, which seems like a very promising path forward. I do not know if you see other specific opportunities within Mavalle or perhaps in the forestry sector as a whole in the coming years.
I always see a growing awareness in the end customer, which in our specific case is the tapper who is out there in the field every single day performing the hard work that is actually required. And also the people making things happen in the field. There is an increasing awareness that technology is here to support them and help them perform their tasks much more effectively today to improve overall yields. So as you mentioned, alternatives like the electric knife are a great example of how innovation can change the way we work, which in truth will greatly improve the performance of the workers, but at the same time, it will maintain the high tapping quality we require. That is one good option. Using drones as well, perhaps to improve our forest inventory data too, is another option. I believe the future definitely holds many such exciting possibilities. I also think we must consider how these tools integrate with our long-term sustainability goals and the plantation's overall productivity. Intercropping would be interesting too, depending on the context. I believe that there as well, thinking about the efficiency of plants and intercrops, speaking here of rubber trees, I believe it could be an opportunity for this location where I am situated, and then inventories start to have a lot of strength. Remembering also that inventories also help on another point, in the case of rubber trees, which is having an accurate estimate of carbon stocks and wood volume, you can make a reliable inference of that as well in this context of talking so much about carbon credits, right? So imagine both in monoculture or in associated cultivation, as I'm discussing here, I think these technologies come together to help and bring new perspectives in terms of even distinct business plans from what we currently have, ensuring that we are not being so limited by traditional methods of production, subject to many external or exogenous variations that we cannot control, and we can control a bit more of what happens inside the gate. So I believe that's the way, and Marvala is on this path too, and encourages other Kaka farmers to truly follow the path of achieving greater operational efficiency through the strategic use of technology.
It's a very interesting point you've raised, this greater control that technology provides, especially since we live in an uncertain world today, both in terms of climate change and constant changes in the global landscape in geopolitics all the time. So these controls, this transparency, and this traceability will surely provide a benefit, provide more support for those making decisions or giving the final word at the end of the day, right? Neto, I really want to thank you so much for being here today and sharing some of your deep knowledge and some of your professional experience. This is very valuable information that I truly hope will help others who are currently on this path of change management. We know the forestry sector is still quite conservative, yet it clearly faces many unique challenges in the modern era. The world is bringing new expansions, huge factories, and massive investments, and we know that technology needs to keep up with all of these changes. It is great that you could share your practical experience and a successful implementation with us, and we truly hope that you can see more success. You continue to have great success in your work, and that we can always continue to support you along this journey. I really appreciate your presence for being here with us today, and maybe we can speak again in a future session. Take care, Neto, and thank you very much.
Take care. It was a pleasure. Best wishes to everyone and much success in your business venture. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.